Today's Dallas Cowboys report is a look at my final 53-man roster projection for the Cowboys, and it's all made possible by Magic Spoon. Get $5 off your first order of the healthy and delicious cereal when you go to magicspoon.com/Cowboys. That link, by the way, will be in the comment section and in the description. Now, before we get too far in here, I do want to go over some rule stuff, is what I'll call it here. So the Cowboys currently have 4 players on the COVID reserve list. Emphasis on the reserve list. CeeDee Lamb, Connor Williams, Carlos Watkins, and Damontae Kazee. I think it's a bit unlikely that all 4 of those guys are cleared and back on the active roster by the time it's roster cutdown time. So for the time being, these 4 players do not count against the 53-man roster, which means the Cowboys are going to be able to carry injured guys like, say, Neville Gallimore through roster cuts and then place them on IR without having to cut a veteran, say maybe a Jeremy Sprinkle, and then bring them back because they don't have to go through waivers. That makes it a little bit easier from the roster juggling standpoint. Now, right now, the Cowboys have 5 players currently on IR. These players' seasons are over. Rico Dowdle, running back / fullback, Shewo Olanalua, offensive tackle Mitch Hyatt, cornerback Reggie Robinson, a very true stash, and then punter Hunter Nicewander as well. Now, when the Cowboys make their final 53-man roster cuts, we're going to break that down, as well as the final practice squad for the Cowboys. And hell, you know what? While we're at it, we'll do videos every single day on the Dallas Cowboys. If that's something you want, hit that big red button and subscribe today. Let's run through my roster projection for the Cowboys then on offense. Beginning at quarterback, there's one thing we know for sure. Dak Prescott is quarterback 1. Who the backup quarterback is, I don't know. I would go with Garrett Gilbert. I think he offers you more upside than Cooper Rush does. Gilbert does hold the ball a bit longer than you'd like, but in the 4 preseason games, Gilbert outplayed Rush in all but one of them. I feel like that should matter, quite frankly. Now, Cooper Rush could still end up being the backup, and maybe the Cowboys, after falling asleep at the wheel in the offseason, apparently, could look outside the team for a different backup quarterback. So pick one for me. Type GG for Garrett Gilbert, type CR for Cooper Rush, or type in O for other. Get your votes in for me in the comments section. Who do you guys want as the backup quarterback? Let's go now to, I guess I'll group this all together as the backfield, where obviously Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard are very much roster locks. Those guys are going to make this team for the Dallas Cowboys. I will put Nick Ralston on here as well as the fullback. He's not a roster lock. I think they can get him on the practice squad if they wanted to. That could allow them to go deeper elsewhere. You know, maybe you go deeper at receiver, maybe offensive line. Defensively, they could go deeper as well. But I will put Ralston on here. I also think the Cowboys will monitor the free agency and maybe trade market as well for a new potential RB3. They might look for someone who offers them a little bit more on special teams. So with that in mind, name a player you want the Cowboys to add. Could be via free agency or via trade. Get your votes in the comments section. For the final preseason game, the Cowboys made Amari Cooper, Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb, Cedric Wilson, and Noah Brown all inactive. That is a very clear sign that those 5 players are roster locks. If the Cowboys carry a 6th receiver, I think it's a 2-man race right now. Malik Turner, who I will go with because he's outplayed the other guy we're about to get to in a second, and offers some more special teams value. Simi Fehoko, who I like a lot. I liked him coming out of Stanford. He's intriguing. He's still raw, needs the development, needs upside. I wonder if he makes the team. This Turner-Fehoko battle was a toss-up for me. I won't be surprised if I end up being wrong here, if the Cowboys even carry a 6th receiver. I think Dallas could try to stash him, though, on the practice squad. The one team that might take him from you, even though it is easier to get guys through waivers than most people want to admit, watch out for the 49ers as a potential threat there. So let's say you do want to keep a 6th receiver. That means you got to cut one of these guys. So pick one to cut for me. Type MT for you want to cut Malik Turner, or type in SF for you want to cut Timofeyoko. Get your votes in the comments section. Now remember, CeeDee Lamb being on that COVID reserve list does not count against the 53-man roster right now. That's why I'm able to manipulate my tight end room here. Blake Jarwin, Dalton Schultz are roster locks. Those guys are making the 53-man roster. Sean McEwen was going to be tight end 3, and then he got hurt. So what I'm projecting here is Sean McEwen makes it through the initial 53-man roster cuts, and then will likely go on IR for at least a couple of weeks. So I will also carry Jeremy Sprinkle for at least the time being as my tight end 3/4. I don't have to cut anybody, though, because of those COVID/IR rules. As mentioned, today's show is made possible by Magic Spoon. Let me tell you what they offer. High in protein, 13 to 14 grams of protein in each bowl. Only 4 grams of net carbs per bowl as well. And despite having 0 sugar, it tastes incredible. Trust me, it is the perfect blend of healthy and tasty cereal for you in the morning. So get $5 off your first order at magicspoon.com/Cowboys. Tons of great variety. I personally am a huge fan of the frosted, fruity, and peanut butter, in whatever order you want to rank them there, but they got a lot more. The maple waffle smells incredible. It's great. If you like chocolate, they've got cocoa as well. There is a flavor, if not multiple flavors for you guys. So go get $5 off your first order at magicspoon.com/Cowboys. Let's go to the offensive line now. Well, I will make note, yes, Mitch Hyatt is already on IR as it relates from that perspective. The offensive line is in an intriguing spot for me. You do have some, of course, very obvious roster locks as well. Lael Collins, Tyron Smith, Connor Williams. Williams, of course, right now is on the COVID reserve list, so he doesn't actually count technically. You've got Tyler Biadasz, Zach Martin, Connor McGovern. And because Ty Nsekhe did not play at all, I believe he also ends up serving as a roster lock for the Dallas Cowboys. Now, beyond that, I think what you're going to end up seeing happen is a bit of some maybe trade discussion. I wouldn't be surprised if the Cowboys ended up shopping Brandon Knight, who I'll list as making this team at guard as well. I will also throw Matt Farniok on this list at center. I thought he played pretty damn well in his final preseason game, and frankly, I'd rather him be the backup center than Connor Williams. Terrence Steele I will also include on this list at right tackle. I will put Josh Ball on here. Now, this is an easy balancing act here. Williams on the COVID reserve list to start. Josh Ball, I think, will be carried through active roster cuts and then placed on IR and will at least miss a little bit of the start of the season. So that's kind of my mindset for the Cowboys as it relates to the offense, but there will be some changes, and I'm sure I got some stuff wrong on that one. Let's talk defense now for the Dallas Cowboys. Their roster. We'll spend some time here on the defensive line because this is going to be, well, it's complicated. So roster locks, right? DeMarcus Lawrence, Osa Odigizua, Randy Gregory, I think Dorrance Armstrong too, since he did not play in the preseason game. Brent Urban, same deal there. If healthy, he's a bit banged up right now, Terrell Basham. That leaves a bunch of other roster spots. I think Carlos Watkins makes it. I'll put Quinton Bohanna here on as well. I just left off Justin Hamilton, kind of broke my heart, but I did want to put him on here as an option for the Cowboys. Keep an eye on Hamilton. If they go deep at defensive line, I think he gets in. Now, Tristan Hill, Chauncey Golston, you see the asterisks there? They are on the PUP list to start this season. They do not count against the 53-man roster at all right now, and they'll be eligible to come back off that list after 6 weeks. Neville Gallimore, I'm just going to list him as IR because it's kind of complicated right now. He's not officially on IR yet, but he will be going on IR. He's going to start the year on injured reserve, then will come off that later on. Because Watkins is on the COVID reserve list right now and does not count against the active 53-man roster, you can carry Gallimore through that initial roster cuts, then put him on IR, and then activate Watkins. It's all kind of a nice little balancing act there for the Cowboys. There's also the matter of the final edge rusher spot. And because Golston's on the PUP list, makes it a little bit easier. It's a 3-man race right now. There's Bradley and I, who I'm going to go with, because hashtag free and I, Azur Kamara, and also Rondell Carter. You know, you could maybe see the Cowboys even shop one or multiple of these guys, maybe Bradley and I in particular. There's only room for one guy, though I think you can get at least two of these guys on your practice squad. So pick one to keep. Type BA for Bradley and I, AK for Azur Kamara, or RC for Rondell Carter. Let's talk linebacker now. I left off Luke Gifford because, you don't need that much depth at linebacker. Jalen Smith, Micah Parsons, Leighton Vander Esch, Jabril Cox, and Keanu Neal. It's kind of simple from that perspective. There aren't, outside of Luke Gifford, especially including Luke Gifford, there's a big gap from those first five guys to Gifford and then kind of injured Francis Bernard. So from that perspective, I think 5's all you need for Dallas. Maybe they go 6 to keep Gifford as a special teams guy. I want you guys now to name a surprise roster cut for me. There's always one, the guy that we never really saw coming. I'll tease it here for special teams, which I guess we'll include on the defensive side here. Keep an eye out for the punter, Brian Anger. I'll explain why in just a little bit. All right, secondary now. Roster locks, Trevon Diggs, Anthony Brown, Kelvin Joseph, Maurice Kennedy, Deshaun Wright. Those 6 are going to be your top corners. I will include CJ Goodwin on this list as well because I think the special teams value gets him on the active roster for the Cowboys. Let's talk safeties then. Jerry Jones says that Malik Hooker is going to be on this roster. Assuming he is being honest, which maybe he is, maybe he isn't, I'll put him on here with the 3 other roster locks at safety in Donovan Wilson, currently on reserve COVID list, Damontae Kazee, and Jaron Kearse as well. The issue you're going to run into here is that Hooker and even Israel Mukuamu, given his special teams penalties issues, aren't that valuable on special teams. That makes it a bit complicated. I want to put Mukuamu on this roster. I've asked for a safety for far too long for them to have a potentially promising one and let him go. So I'll put Mukuamu on here, but don't discount Darian Thompson finding his way once again onto the 53-man roster. Special teams then. Pretty straightforward. You've only got 3 guys, right? Greg Zuerlein, Brian Anger, Jake McQuaid. Keep an eye on this. Even though Brian Anger has been very good as it relates to the Cowboys in punts, the Rams might very well end up cutting their current punter. That's Johnny Hekker. And John Fossil would love to find a way to get the gang back together and have all 3 former Rams special teams guys in Zuerlein, Hekker, and McQuaid. So if it gets cut, keep an eye on that one for the Cowboys. That's my 53-man roster projection. Now let's look through the practice squad. Now, I think I was actually mistaken a couple months ago. Isaac Alarcon does still count as an exempted player, so it's 16 plus the 1 freebie there. I'm only including guys on the roster. Gets way too complicated from that perspective. So you've got only Cowboys players, but I promise you they will make some changes from that perspective. There will be other guys not on the roster added to their practice squad. First up, and you guys are going to hate it, but I'm just trying to prepare you for the possibility, the Nooch, Ben DiNucci, because football is not a meritocracy, and Mike McCarthy likes DiNucci. Is he worthy? No, I would rather sign somebody else, and yet I somehow wonder if the Cowboys will keep him. I'll put both Jaquan Hardy and Brendan Knox on here. Hardy's offered more special teams values, but Knox played better in the final preseason game. Again, monitor the waiver wire at this position. Nick Eubanks, like him, he's shown some promise. He gets the nod pretty easily over Artavius Lynn at tight end. 4 receivers, which I don't know if they're going to go that heavy, but Aaron Parker, who played pretty well in that last preseason game. Simi Fehoko, if he gets through waivers, he's going to the practice squad. Reggie Davis, or maybe Johnny Dixon as like your emergency return guy, but again, I'd rather look elsewhere. Brandon Smith got a pretty high signing bonus, but hasn't done a whole lot there. And then, of course, the aforementioned Isaac Alarcon, who's played tackle, but mostly guard as well for this Cowboys team since they're so deep at tackle as a practice squad guy. Justin Hamilton, I mentioned him earlier. I want to find a way to get him on the practice squad. He could be an active roster guy. Austin Faoli, just to get to 16 if I'm being honest. Rondell Carter and Azur Kamara, again, potential surprise dark horses for the active roster. Luke Gifford, if he does not make the active roster. Francis Bernard, Tyler Coyle, and then my creative way to find a way to help out on special teams, Darian Thompson, maybe you make him kind of your go-to active roster guy from the practice squad if you want a special teams boost. But you can have veterans this year, just like last year. So keep an eye out for a couple of those guys on the practice squad. If you guys want more Cowboys videos, just do me a favor. Hit that big red button and subscribe. We've got them coming out every single day right here on the Cowboys Report.